Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel 3D Printing for Geoscientists. My name is Allie, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to use the Axial Sweep tool. There's a couple other tools we're going to be using as well in this tutorial, including the Line tool, the Basic Shape tool, and the Difference tool, as well as the Clipping plane. And there are previous tutorials that we have posted on those tools. And so if you're not familiar with them, you may want to go watch those tutorials first to get a full idea of what I'm doing throughout this short video. And so the Axial Sweep tool is in our modeling toolbar. It's over on the right, and it's the fourth one down. Now, if you're just opened up FormZ and it might be set to its default settings, you might actually see this icon in that location for these whole set of derived 2s. That's kind of the default one that comes up. But there's a series of sweep tools in the second row, and we're going to mainly be focusing on this first one today, Axial Sweep. And what the Axial Sweep does is it takes a shape that you've created, a 2D shape, and it passes it along a path. And so essentially there's only two things we need to use this tool. We need a shape and we need a path. And so we can create those pretty quickly. I'm going to draw a simple line, and that's going to be our path. Oops. I want everything to be in 2D as I'm doing this, not in 3D. And then I'm just going to make a short circle, small circle. And then when I click on my Axial Sweep tool, I first select my source shape and then the path itself. And then I've created a 3D object by the software has taken that initial 2D shape and created a 3D object along the pathway that I drew. And so in this case, it's essentially just a long cylinder, which is pretty easy to make. But if we have a more complicated path, and I'm just going to draw a quick random series of line segments right here. And then we create another small circle. And we try this again along a more complicated path, we get a more complicated shape. And so our initial circle essentially travels down, and then it very sharply turns a corner, and then it goes at these different angles. We've created a very sharply cornered object. If you didn't like the sharp corners and you wanted more smooth turns, you could make your path with the spline feature, which creates nice curves. And then we do this one more time. And now we have a curved cylinder along the pathway that I drew initially. And so this can be really great for making internal channels in objects. And so if I quickly make just a 3D block, if I can hover over this and switch back to our rectangle, I'm going to choose my extrude up option. So I'm going to draw it right over this path that we've created. And then I'm just going to rotate this quick. Yep. And I'm going to just move this down a little bit. I can go into the info and I can control where it is along each axis. So I'm just going to move this down 2 inches. Nope, we're going to have to do much further than that. So let's try. I didn't go in and change all of my dimensions before making this video. So unfortunately, there we go. My scale is a little off from what I'm normally used to working with. But, so we have the 2D shape that we've extruded is now completely inside our box. And if I use the Difference tool, which if you remember from a previous video is down here in the Modify section, I can select our box, and then I can select our path, and I've created that pathway as an internal channel inside the box. And if I switch to wireframe, you can see that channel inside of the box we've created. So, like I said before, this is really great for creating complex internal pathways in a material. Now, I'm just going to move this out of the way for a second. You don't have to create just a raw drawing path. You can actually create a 2D object, 2D, not 3D, and you can actually extrude around the corners of this object itself. So if you wanted to have your extrusion along a rectangle, the shortcut way would be to first draw the rectangle, then draw your shape. I'm going to stick to our circles for right now. And my axial sweep tool will recognize this rectangle as essentially the path I want our circle to follow. So I select our circle, just like this, and it is essentially deleted the internal rectangle, but it has created the pathway of our circle around that edge. Okay, so I think that covers most of it. There are other sweep tools. For example, this two-source sweep connects two differently shaped objects, so you can have a square object at one end and a circular object at the other end of your pathway. Whereas our 2P sweep has two different pathways with one source shape, and they get more and more complicated depending on what your needs are for creating these different complex shapes. But start with your axial sweep, play around a little bit, see what kind of capabilities and complex things you can make as you're expanding your Form Z knowledge and creating better instrumentation for your printing and better parts. Thank you.